Someday. You're a Hall of Famer. One thing I did want to ask you about is a lot of people have been surprised by how outspoken you've been against fellow Hall of Famer Donald Trump as of late. Why have you felt the need to? A lot of wrestlers don't get as political as you've gotten recently.
Yeah.
Why have you felt the reason to be so outspoken about this?
Yeah, I did not intend to get political. I was political in 2003, 2004. I debated JBL on World News Tonight on ABC Live. And I thought we both accounted for ourselves pretty well. I just think, then I kind of, as soon as the major issue became the economy, when it fell apart in 2008, I was like, well, I don't know. I could not tell you to this day what a credit default swap is, which was the major reason the economy fell apart. Like I can't tell you. No matter how many times I read it, I don't understand it. I'm not at the end passionate about it.
Okay.
But in this case, I just see so many things going wrong. And I know that obviously the president has his fans out there, and I realized, and overnight I lost 50,000 followers at one point just because I suggested that maybe there should be witnesses at a trial. So I understand, especially when I'm in some rural areas and signing autographs, there's a bunch of great people, they're good people, hardworking people who probably don't feel the same way about the president that I do. And I understand that. And I would hate to lose some of them, let alone, 50, 100,000. That was 50,000 overnight.
Man.
But I thought, the two dirtiest words in the English language are "what if." I always felt that way, whether it was saying, hey, what if? I don't want to be that guy saying what if 10 years from now, laying on my couch saying, I could have gone out there on stage, I could have worked on it, I could have brought a show alive, so I did my best to do that. And I swear, I don't want a moment where what if I had done something different? What if this president wins by 200 votes, in one state and pushes the electoral college over the line? And I just thought, if you've got the power to do something and you don't do it because you're worried about losing some Twitter followers, then you haven't, you maybe don't have your priorities in order. I just thought this was an extreme time. Everything from a president of the United States with 80 million followers openly mocking someone like Elijah Wood after his house was broken into, to mocking Debbie Dingle about her husband who had just passed away. He's just a mean guy. And I just see so many issues with it. You don't force. Now I'm going to start whining because you could. I literally bought a scroll so that if I was asked, they're like, well, what's your issue? Because if it's one issue, then it's easy to bring up. If it's 200 issues, then it becomes, and literally you come up with 200 things without having to work too hard. Things that weren't right with this administration. I wanted to just roll it out and go, do you want me to start alphabetically, chronologically,
Sure.
You name it? But just in the past few days, like threatening to fire your FBI guy if he doesn't give you the information you want. Like, I don't think he understands that they don't work for him. He works for us. The FBI works for us. They're not like the Comey thing made that clear. That's like, you're not supposed to be close with your FBI guy. He's supposed to give you independent information. So every step of the way, from naming the lead juror in a case, like outwardly shaming the guy on his Twitter, let me just. I know I'm jumping all around, but
no, that's fine. Take your time.
If you were to see a guy, just a guy, mocking somebody for having their house broken into, what would be a word you would use to describe that guy?
Heartless.
Heartless, jerk, right? DB, you name it. Now, if that same guy has 80 million followers who are going to change the life of that person you're mocking, who are going to make their life a living hell, then that's just a person of indescribable cruelty. So when the president says, like, oh, I retweet, I don't tweet. For example, when I got off Twitter, here's my big exclusive for you guys. I got off Twitter for 6 weeks a while back. And there were two things that did it. It was the death of the young lady in Japan by suicide due to bullying. Kimura was her last name, I think.
Kimura, yeah.
And the other one was the president retweeted something by the Republican cowboys. I have their names written down somewhere, where the guy said, the only good Democrat is a dead Democrat. And then immediately goes, I know they're going to try to take my words out of context. And I was like, no, wait. I make a living using words. Like, those words are always meant to be taken literally. They were from the time a former Civil War general was told by a Native American in 1869 that there are some good Indians out there. And the guy said, well, the only good Indians I've seen are dead Indians. And then they got taken into the only good Indian is a dead Indian. The only good, you name it. The only good Nazi is a dead Nazi. The only good, it's meant to be taken literally.
Right.
And I thought, this guy has set the bar so low for civility that that particular retweet didn't even get a considerable amount of attention. And I just thought, how far have we fallen that a president could retweet that and say, hey, see you in New Mexico, or see you in November. And I thought, well, he's got 80 million followers. I think, as a guy who uses words and has written 11 books and been a pretty effective communicator, even without my bottom teeth, that those words are meant to be taken literally. Now you've got a guy who's saying, who by hitting retweet, you are endorsing that viewpoint. You can't say you're just putting it out there. When you're the president of the United States and you retweet something, you are endorsing it. So if you got 80 million followers, you just do the math. It's like, okay, what if 1 in 100 took you literally about the possibility of killing Democrats? Now you do the math, right? You've got 800,000 potential people taking that seriously. What if it's 1 in 1,000? You get down to all you need is 8 people with rifles, and they can terrorize a nation based on what one guy said. And if I was, people go, hey, aren't you taking this too far? I go, no. Like, I did some studying, like on Rwanda, they killed 750,000 people with 250,000 machetes, not a single gunshot. And we've got a nation armed to the teeth, and we've got a guy fomenting violence, asking white nationalist groups to stand back and stand by, using, coded language to let them know that you're going to be okay. Like, you can go and say 4 days later that you condemn white nationalism, but they know as soon as they hear stand back and stand by, that they can do whatever they want, and the president's going to look the other way. So I just think it's a really dangerous situation. I barely chimed in 2000. In 2008, I had something to say. I was a big Obama supporter.
Sure.
2012, I stood back. I don't know if I even tweeted about it. I may have once or twice. 2016, I warned people not to do what I think they were about to do, which they did.
Yeah.
And this time around, I'm like, I'm sorry. I have never heard him express concern about the environment. I've never heard him talk about global warming. I have never heard him condemn Putin for the possibility that he put bounties on our service members in Afghanistan. I've never heard him express concern that Putin's leading rival was poisoned. He said he'd look into it. Does anyone really believe he looked into it? No. I believe he's compromised. If he's not compromised, he does a good job of acting like somebody who's compromised. And I just thought, again, 20 years from now, if someone asks me what I did, because I do believe we'll be studying this in history, how things went terribly wrong, and things go terribly wrong when good people do nothing.
Yes, the $1 million questions a lot of wrestling fans would ask when they see you say these things is like, Vince and Linda are, very, very close with the president. Linda going as far as to being in the administration. Does that affect the relationship? Do you worry about it affecting the relationship? How does Vince and Linda view the politics of the people that are in their orbit? I mean, what is that like, being in that space?
Well, I think Vince has respected my viewpoint for a couple decades now. I don't think he deep down wants everybody to agree with him just because he's Mr. McMahon.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I haven't lost a single. single friend in wrestling. I went and campaigned for Glenn Jacobs, because I think Glenn is a really good man. And that's what we should be. I tweeted out something yesterday showing a state. It was a state race, not a national race. May have even been a local race, but it was two competitors, Republican and a Democrat, who had very different views for their area of Vermont. And then after their debate, the one guy broke out a guitar, the Democrat broke out a cello, and they did a duet. And I tweeted, "That's the America I want to live in." We shouldn't be at each other's throats because we think differently. But in my opinion, this guy, the president of the United States, having unfettered access to the public for the past 5 years, it's to me, it's a not so subtle form of brainwashing. Just come out and repeat the same mantras over and over, whether it's perfect letter, the perfect letter, rounding the corner, hoax. And I think, what he has done to this country in terms of just dividing us over a mask is, it's really sad. I think where people are going to look back on history and go, wait a second, you could have saved 100,000 lives and didn't, because people didn't want to wear a mask. And that's why I put out a video that really resonated. It went over 1 million views. The only time I've had anything remotely close to 1 million views about wearing a mask, despite the fact that it's not comfortable. And the key line there was, I wear it because I care more about your safety than I do about my comfort. And I wish that more people felt the same way about me. So, I think there's a lot riding on this election, and I don't want to be the guy saying I could have, I should have, I would have. I want to be the guy who does.